Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy with their DOGE, that is Department of Government Efficiency, their little group, are coming to save America from insolvency. That's not a threat. That is an actual fact of our timeline. It is coming to happen. Just paying down our interest to our debt, over $30 trillion, is going to be more of a hit every year than we pay for our entire military industrial complex. That's how big that just the interest on that debt is. Welcome to the Doug TenNapel channel. We're going to be following DOGE this is going to talking about at least 18 months of what they're going to do. This is going to drive a ton of news, what they do. And that's why we're just getting you guys used to this. We're going to do regular check-ins on what government programs are being audited and pared down or cut. So here's Friedberg on the All In podcast.
DOGE has probably 18 months to do what they can do before the midterms. And there's going to be an inevitable amount of recoil and backlash that's going to arise from the actions that they're going to try and take and President Trump's going to try and take under the recommendations provided by DOGE.
So Friedberg predicts that they're going to have just 18 months because assuming that it's going to be so unpopular what they do, that it's going to be affected by those midterm elections that are coming up in 26. So what do you guys think? Will it be that unpopular with the American people? Because remember, as soon as they start cutting, they're going to start doing all the sob stories of the government people that are losing their jobs or getting their stuff cut back, and services that could get cut back. And it's going to cause starvation and death and bad health. We already know what the media is going to do. Will the Democrat have that strong of hold of a media going through the next 2 years?
They need to move fast and aggressively, and that's only going to cause the recoil to be harder and faster. There's going to be a ton of litigation. Obviously, everything's going to go to court. It's going to be incredibly politicized.
And that's another one. You know how Democrats, they love their Democrat court judges. It's going to come down to how many of these agencies can they get into conservative courts with a normal fair judge instead of a Democrat Biden appointment.
What is frustrating and challenging to me is that there is nothing that they said that doesn't seem obvious and right. I don't know how you can politicize the points that they're making.
Oh, I know how you can politicize it. Them saving America fiscally. Can you imagine what Democrats are going to say? You guys can write in the comments below what lies you think the Democrats are going to tell as soon as they start auditing our government and preventing waste.
Put aside their party, put aside who they are individually, put aside how we got here. At the end of the day, this federal government needs to be run more efficiently, more effectively. It is unfair, and it is a tax on every one of us to have money thrown away, to have wasted capital, to have bureaucracy that gets in the way of people being able to do their jobs.
Can you imagine what the Democrats are actually defending? All of that government waste, inefficiency, just a ton of waste, by the way, especially on DEI. I read an article earlier this week that they'd spent it was like $100 million on DEI, which represents government waste, as soon as they cut it, because it's not mandatory. It's not needed.
It is a tax on all of us and our kids and our future. It needs to be fixed. If it doesn't get fixed, as I've said countless times before, we are in an arithmetic death spiral. There is no way out of it.
And there's no way that you can Democrat your way out of our debt problem either. Of course, their answer probably would be to cut all of the military. I don't even know what they would do. The only military they liked is funding Ukraine. And otherwise, they want to cut everything else and turn the military gay. That's so far their main accomplishment. And have we're down by about 50,000 recruits in our branches of military.
So by resolving both the inefficiency, reducing the bureaucracy, stopping the wasteful spending, having accountability in the government, we can actually get the United States another 50 years, 100 years, whatever long we want.
Yeah, keeping us from going insolvent for 50 to 100 years sounds pretty good to me. The Democrats want to keep going in debt. They don't want to cut, obviously, their programs and their benefits because they believe in big government. So this really is where Trump, even though I wouldn't call him a conservative, especially not a fiscal conservative, having DOGE is the most fiscally conservative thing he could do, to have this separate panel go in. They're going to audit everything. Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk have talked about having a weekly podcast where they present to the public what they're working on. They're going to post on Twitter all of their findings and what they've been cutting and what they've been discovering. They've already announced that they're going to try to end funding Planned Parenthood with government dollars.
But we were literally in a death spiral leading up to this moment. And I have no idea how we ended up on this timeline. I was over the moon and shocked when I read all of the progress over the last couple of weeks in putting this thing together. I did not know that this is where we would end up. I couldn't be more happy with what I think is going to happen with DOGE and its effect on, if not actually making the changes, shining a light on the issues that need to be addressed.
They're not going to have the authority to actually make the change. They have to go to the other department heads like a Tulsi Gabbard or Pete Hegseth or RFK Jr. Or Pam Bondi to actually make the change happen. But it's going to be hit with lawsuits. The entire media is going to go against them. And this is where Vivek and Elon Musk, I think it's worse than they think. Thus the title of this episode. It is worse than they think, the kind of backlash and resistance they're going to get, because the government has one job. Its number one job is to keep its job. We have over 3 million public employees. That is a giant group, very difficult to manage and convince their leaders to pare back.
And I will say it is unfair to Americans for this to be politicized. The Democrats shouldn't make this a Republican issue. This is not about Republicans doing damage.
And that's what their thing is going to be. Their whole role is going to be, I don't know what the Republicans are doing. They're just trying to damage. When they accuse us of, they just want to come in and break things. No, they want to save America and keep it from going insolvent, keep the debt from just skyrocketing. And the Democrats are going to go full bore on media and say the Democrats are trying to destroy America.
This is about doing the right thing for the government and for the country. And the Democrats had an opportunity to own this issue. And instead, they've chosen to oppose it, which makes no sense.
But I actually kind of like that they're going to oppose it, especially going into the 2026 election. I think this is going to be hugely popular. If they oppose the Republicans on this issue and the Republicans run on the government reform and they show, look, we cut 1/6, 1/5, 1/4, 1/3 of the government down that you no longer have to pay for with your taxes, and we removed waste, okay? We didn't remove good things, we removed waste. That might end up being an incredibly popular fiscal, populist economic position that the voters love.
This should be a what's right for America point. It's almost like we're going to war with ourselves, with our bureaucracy, with the morass that's been built up over the last couple of decades.
We're going to war with the Democrats that are the pro-morass party. That's where the battle is right now, inside of us. And I think, the Democrats think that's a winning move to protect the giant bloated government and your tax rate. I think that's a losing issue.
And frankly, put the people aside. Maybe it's the fact that you need people that are as outspoken, as challenging, as difficult as these two particular individuals are going to run this group. But that might be what it takes for it to happen in the small 18-month window that they have.
They're actually protected in that they don't go through a Senate approval. They're just a sidebar thing, this Vivek and Elon, and they're both pretty rough businessmen, and they don't take a salary, so you can't buy them. I'm Doug in exile.